All right, so hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about something that's really important for anyone who wants to get their website noticed online, SEO keyword research. And, we're doing this deep dive especially for the SMU Search Engine Optimization and Marketing Strategies class. Think of this as like a guide to making sure your website actually gets found by the people who are looking for what you offer.
That's exactly it. We've gone through some really interesting expert YouTube tutorials on this subject, and we've distilled them down into a clear and easy to follow process for you. We don't just want to talk about keyword research. We want to give you guys the tools to go out there and actually do it yourselves.
Right on. What we want to do with this session is to give you guys the actual skills you need to find and use keywords like a pro. We're going beyond just knowing what they are and getting into how you actually use them to get results. And we know it can be a lot to take in, so don't worry. We're going to focus on the stuff that you can actually use. No information overload here. So where should we even start with all this?
Well, the first thing you've got to do is brainstorm.
Right.
We've got to come up with those initial keywords. Those are what we call seed keywords.
Seed keywords. Okay, so let's break that down a bit. What are those exactly?
Think of seed keywords as your starting point, those core terms that describe what your website or business is all about. The Hostinger Academy video had a great example with a backpack business. If you're selling backpacks specifically for hikers, your seed keywords might be something as simple as hiking backpack or backpack for hiking, or maybe hiker's bag. You're just getting those basic terms down first.
Right. It's like putting yourself in your customer's shoes. Like if you were trying to find that product, what would you type into Google? What are those words that would pop into your head first?
Exactly. And those seed keywords, as simple as they seem, those are just the beginning. They're like the springboard to using some more advanced keyword research tools that can help you find a whole lot more related terms.
Okay, so that takes us to our next step. Using those keyword research tools and really understanding the data they give us.
Yeah, for sure. Now, there are tons of tools out there, but the experts in the videos we watched, they highlighted a few key ones. On the free side, you've got solid options like Google Search Console and Google Keyword Planner. And then when you're ready to get serious, you've got powerful paid tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush.
Yeah, and Hostinger Academy made a really good point that those free tools are great when you're just getting started, but they do have their limitations.
Right.
They might not have all the bells and whistles that the paid tools do. And as your website grows and you need more advanced analysis, then investing in a premium tool, that can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. But no matter what tool you're using, there are some core metrics that you really need to understand. One that came up a lot is keyword difficulty, often shortened to KD.
KD. Okay, so what does that tell us exactly?
Keyword difficulty basically tells you how hard it's going to be to rank high in the search results for a specific keyword. Ahrefs, which several of the videos mentioned, uses a scale from 0 to 100. On that scale, 0 to 10 is considered pretty easy. 11 to 30 is medium difficulty, 31 to 70 is hard, and anything over 70 is super competitive.
So the higher the KD score, the more you're going to be up against some really strong competition. Established websites, authoritative resources, that kind of thing. And it's useful to know that Hostinger Academy pointed out if your tool doesn't have a KD metric, Ahrefs has a free KD checker tool you can use, which is pretty awesome. So KD, what's the other big metric we should be looking at?
That's search volume. This one tells you how many times on average people search for a particular keyword each month.
Okay, so that makes sense. I mean, it seems natural to think that you'd want to target the keywords with the highest search volume, right?
It's a common instinct, but it's not always the best strategy, especially if you're just starting out. Hostinger Academy mentioned that seed keywords a lot of times have really high search volume, but they also have really high keyword difficulty, so it's about finding that balance. If your website is new and you haven't built up a lot of authority, focusing on keywords with lower difficulty, even if they have slightly lower search volume, that can be a much smarter move. Established brands, they have more leeway to go after those high volume, high difficulty terms.
Gotcha. So even if your initial seed keywords look super competitive, don't get discouraged. Hostinger Academy's advice was to check out the related terms in your keyword tool. That's where you'll likely find those golden nuggets, those keywords that are a bit easier to rank for.
Yeah, that's a great point. And after you start building up your list of potential keywords, the next super important thing is understanding search intent.
Search intent. This is a big one, and Matt Kenyon's video really did a great job of explaining this. It's all about figuring out what the person searching is actually trying to do, what's their goal, what do they really want.
Right. And as Matt explained, there are 4 main categories of search intent. These often line up with the different stages a customer goes through before they buy something. The first one is informational intent.
Informational intent. That's when someone is basically looking for information about something, like Matt's example with the cooking knife. Someone searching for best way to sharpen a knife is clearly trying to learn something new. This kind of intent usually leads to content like blog posts or how-to guides.
Exactly. Then we have navigational intent. So what would you say is the main goal of a search with navigational intent?
Navigational intent is all about finding a specific website or a particular page. Like if someone searches for King Whetstone website, they already know what they want. They just need to get to the right place.
Right on. Next, we have transactional intent. What's the typical sign of transactional intent?
Transactional intent is a pretty clear sign that someone's ready to buy something, a specific product or service. Like if they search for buy King Whetstone, that's a pretty good indicator that they're ready to pull out their wallet.
And lastly, we have commercial intent. How is that different from transactional?
Well, commercial intent is more about research. Someone's thinking about buying something, they're comparing different options, but they haven't quite decided yet. Think of searches like King Whetstone reviews or King versus Naniwa Whetstone.
Got it. So why is it so important to understand these different types of search intent when you're doing keyword research?
Well, both Hostinger Academy and Matt Kenyon stress that it's all about alignment. You want to make sure that the keywords you're targeting are a good fit for your website's purpose and your overall business goals. If you mostly have a blog, then informational keywords, those are going to be key for attracting readers. On the other hand, if you run an online store, then transactional and commercial intent keywords, those are going to be crucial for driving sales.
Right. And going back to Hostinger Academy's backpack example, if your goal is to teach people about the different kinds of hiking backpacks, then focusing on those informational keywords. That makes perfect sense.
And Matt Kenyon also gave a really practical tip. He said to check the SR Core P overview in your keyword research tools. That's the search engine results page. This basically shows you what kind of content is already ranking well for a specific keyword. And that can give you a really strong clue about the main intent behind that search. If you see mostly blog posts ranking for a keyword, it's a pretty safe bet that the intent is mostly informational.
That's a great tip. So now let's move on to understanding the different types of keywords. We have head keywords, body keywords, and long tail keywords. SEMrush had a really useful breakdown of this in their video.
All right, so SEMrush broke it down into these three categories. Let's start with head keywords. How do they define those?
Head keywords are generally really short phrases, often just single words, like SEMrush used the example cars. And generally speaking, they said these are usually the least effective type of keyword to target. And there are a few key reasons for that.
What makes those single word keywords so bad? It seems like cars would have a ton of searches.
True, they often have a huge search volume like SEMrush pointed out. But the user intent behind them, it's just way too broad. Is someone searching for cars, looking to buy a new car? Or are they researching different models? Or maybe they want info about car maintenance. Or maybe it's something totally different like the movie Cars. Because the intent is so vague, the traffic you get from those keywords, it's likely to be low quality, not very likely to convert into customers. And on top of that, head keywords are usually super competitive. And the rankings can change a lot because Google's constantly trying to figure out what the user really wants.
Okay, that makes sense. So single word keywords, generally not a good idea. What about body keywords?
Body keywords are a little more specific, usually 2 to 3 words, like used cars in SEMrush's example. The intent is a bit clearer than head keywords, but they're still pretty competitive. They're broad enough that a lot of businesses go after them.
So more specific than head keywords, but still pretty tough to rank for. That takes us to long tail keywords. These are the more specific, longer phrases that we hear so much about rightly.
Exactly. Long tail keywords are usually 4 words or more, like SEMrush gave the example, used cars, Douglas, Georgia. Now, the intent behind a long-tail keyword, that's much, much clearer. Someone searching for that specific phrase is probably looking to buy a used car in that specific area. Because they're so specific, long-tail keywords are usually a lot less competitive than head or body keywords. SEMrush showed this big difference in keyword difficulty. Cars had a KD of 100, used cars was 99, and used cars, Douglas, Georgia, was only 12.
Wow, that's a huge difference. So even though the search volume for used cars, Douglas, Georgia, which SEMrush said was around 320 searches a month, even though that's way lower than just cars, which had a whopping 823,000 searches, it's often a much better strategy to go after the long tail keywords. Because the intent is so much clearer and the competition is way lower, SEMrush really stressed focusing on intent over just pure volume.
Absolutely. More searches doesn't automatically mean more customers for your business. So we've got a handle on the different types of keywords. Now, how do we actually go about finding those golden opportunities, those keywords that are going to work for us? SEMrush outlined 3 great ways to do this in their video.
What was the first one they mentioned?
The first one was to take a look at your existing keyword profile, the keywords your website is already ranking for. SEMrush explained that you can use their organic research tool and go to the positions report. And this will show you all the keywords that your site is ranking for in the top 100 results. They specifically suggested that you categorize those keywords so you can focus on what they call the low-hanging fruits. These are keywords that your site ranks for in positions 2 through 15, and those represent a really good opportunity to improve your rankings.
Why are those keywords in positions 2 to 15 considered low-hanging fruit?
Because you're already on the first or second page of Google for those terms. With some focused optimization, like improving your content or getting a few more backlinks, you have a really good shot at pushing those rankings even higher into those top spots. SEMrush also suggested that you filter those low-hanging fruit keywords by keyword difficulty to see which ones are going to be the easiest to move up. They also mentioned existing keywords, which are the ones ranking from 16 to 50, and then clustering opportunities in positions 51 to 100. Which could be areas where you might want to create more specific content.
So that's a really smart way to find those quick wins and also figure out where you can expand your content. What was the second approach SEMrush talked about for finding new keywords?
They was using their keyword magic tool. It said start with a broad seed keyword, something like SEO, and then use the tool's filters to narrow down the results to find more specific and relevant long-tail variations. The language filter is great for targeting your specific audience, and the exclude filter can help you get rid of any irrelevant terms.
And I think they also suggested starting with keywords that have a low keyword difficulty and then gradually going after more competitive terms as your website gets stronger, right?
Exactly. And after you've explored the keywords that are directly related to your main topic, SEMrush had this clever trick. They suggested going to Wikipedia to find relevant subtopics within your industry, and then using those subtopics as new seed phrases in the keyword magic tool to find even more niche keywords.
That's a really insightful way to branch out and find those less obvious keywords. What was the third method they recommended?
That was all about alsoask.com. This website pulls data from Google's People Also Ask, or PAA section, which you often see in search results. SEMrush said those long-tail keywords are a goldmine for building up your website's relevance and directly answering the questions that your audience is actually asking.
Yeah, and even if those people also ask questions don't always show up with high search volume in those traditional keyword tools, SEMrush made a great point. The fact that Google is showing them as related questions means that people are searching for that information. It's like real-time validation that people are interested in those topics.
Exactly. Also asked helps to streamline this process. It visually maps out the interconnected questions related to your initial search term.
Okay, so we've got some great ways to find potential keywords, but now we need to figure out which of those keywords are actually worth pursuing. That sounds like it's all about keyword qualification and prioritization.
Right. SEMrush had a really detailed list of things to consider for keyword qualification. The first was your website's current position for the keyword. You want to focus on keywords that you already rank reasonably well for. Then there's setting a minimum acceptable search volume. They suggested something like 100 searches per month as a general guideline. But obviously that might need to be adjusted for really niche businesses or local businesses. Then there's keyword difficulty. Again, start with low competition keywords, and as your website grows, you can start going after more difficult terms. Search intent is obviously super important. For a lot of businesses, focusing on those transactional intent keywords is a priority because that's how they make money. Relevance is key. Always go for keywords that are directly related to what you do or sell. Trend. Is the keyword's popularity increasing? And lastly, potential click-through rate, or CTR. Are there any SERP features like featured snippets or ads that might mean fewer people click on the organic results?
Wow, that is a lot to think about. So once you've got a bunch of qualified keywords, how do you decide which ones to actually go after first? That's where the keyword prioritization comes in.
Right. SEMrush said effective prioritization is all about understanding your resources, especially for creating content and building links. For content, they said to use their on-page SEO checker tool. This can give you an estimate of how long your content should be by looking at the top 10 ranking pages for your target keywords.
So basically, you're seeing what's already working for those keywords.
Exactly. And to understand the backlink situation, they said use the keyword tool's SURP analysis feature. That'll show you the average number of websites linking to the top 10 pages. So by estimating the cost, and by that they mean the time and resources it'll take to create great content and get those backlinks. You can then prioritize the keywords that are likely to give you the biggest bang for your buck.
That's a really strategic approach. It's not just about what you can rank for, it's about finding the most efficient path to getting those rankings. Now, the YouTube videos we watched, they also had some other really cool and creative ways to find keyword ideas. Matt Kenyon, in his video, he talked a lot about using artificial intelligence.
Yeah, he highlighted tools like ChatGPT and Claude for that initial brainstorming phase. He even shared a specific prompt that he uses to generate different types of keywords for a property management software called Rental Stack.
Sounds like a great way to come up with a lot of keyword ideas really quickly. But he also said it's important to review any keywords that AI gives you to make sure they're actually relevant and that the intent is right.
Right. He used the example of rental tools where the AI might not understand exactly what the business is all about.
Exactly. AI is a powerful tool, but it's not perfect.
Mm.
You still need that human touch to make sure the keywords are a good fit for your goals and that they reflect what people are actually searching for. Matt also talked about using Answer the Public, which sounds kind of similar to what Simar said about the People Also Ask stuff.
Yeah, he said Answer the Public is a good free tool to find different questions and variations of a seed keyword. He said it might not work perfectly for every niche, but it's definitely worth trying.
Another really interesting thing Matt talked about was analyzing subreddits and Quora. How can those online communities help us with keyword research?
Well, think of those platforms as a direct line to your target audience. On Reddit and Quora, you can see people talking about their problems, their needs, their interests, all in their own words. By spending time in those communities, you can find those niche keywords. And you can really get a feel for how your audience talks about your industry or related topics. Matt even suggested using those site-specific search operators on Google, like typing site.reddit.com, your topic, and then using a tool like Ahrefs to analyze the top discussions to see what keywords they're using.
Wow, so it's like getting direct feedback from your audience about what keywords they use. He also talked about a really creative approach. Extracting keywords from research papers and even books, that's not something you hear every day.
It is a unique approach, and it could help you find keywords that aren't being used by everyone else. Matt said to use sites like Google Books and Amazon's Look Inside feature to find relevant text in books and academic stuff. Then you can use AI tools like Claude or ChatGPT to pull out potential keywords from that text and even from images of the book pages. The idea is that there's a lot of valuable and specific info in those resources that you might not find in typical online content. So it could be a source of some really unique keywords.
That's thinking outside the box. And then, of course, we have competitor analysis. Matt had some interesting thoughts on that, too.
For sure. He talked about different ways to find out who your competitors are, using SEO tools like Ahrefs or just searching for your main keywords on Google and seeing which websites consistently show up at the top. Once you know who your competitors are, the next step is to figure out what keywords they're ranking for. Tools like Ahrefs are great for that. Make sure you filter out their brand names so you're focusing on the keywords that are actually driving traffic to their sites. He also said to look for keyword gaps, topics and keywords that your competitors are doing well with, but that you haven't targeted yet.
He also had this free and pretty clever technique for competitor analysis, analyzing their sitemaps.
Yeah, the idea is to use a sitemap extractor tool. You can find these online. This will give you a list of all the pages on a competitor's website. Then you can feed that list into an AI tool and ask it to suggest keywords based on the content on those pages. It's a pretty smart way to find those hidden keyword opportunities that your competitors are using. And then there's the good old related search operator on Google. That's a quick way to find more websites that Google thinks are similar to a specific competitor.
Matt also talked about those cool features in Ahrefs that can help you expand your keyword lists, matching terms, related terms, and the search suggestions.
Those are really handy for finding even more keywords based on your initial list. Ahrefs has these presets you can use, like filtering for high-volume, low-competition keywords, or finding question-based keywords, or even filtering by different stages of the customer journey, like top-of-funnel keywords, which are more informational. Those filters can really help you refine your search.
So you've gone through all these different methods, and you've got this huge list of keywords. The next big step is validation and shortlisting.
Right.
You need to make sure those keywords are actually going to be valuable for you.
Exactly. Matt said it's super important to actually Google those keywords yourself. And look at the search results. Ask yourself, can I create content that's better than what's already there? And can I naturally work my product or service into content about this keyword? If you can say yes to both of those questions, that's a good sign that the keyword is worth pursuing. He even suggested organizing your list of keywords by month or by topic to help you plan your future content.
Finally, Matt got into this idea of keyword clustering and topical authority, which is about organizing your keywords in a smart way.
Right. He made a distinction between a topical cluster, which is a group of related keywords that cover different aspects of a broader topic, each with its own specific search intent. You connect those together on your website. Kind of like a series of blog posts, like maybe you have a bunch of posts on different aspects of squatters' rights, each one focusing on the laws in a different state.
Yeah.
Then there's a keyword cluster. This is a group of keywords that have basically the same intent and should all be targeted on a single page. Like keywords like how to start a property management company and starting a property management company. Those would probably all lead to the same main content.
And the big idea behind keyword clustering is to build what we call topical authority, right?
Exactly. When you create a lot of high-quality content around a specific topic, you're telling search engines that you're an expert on that topic.
Yep.
And that can help you rank higher for a whole bunch of related keywords.
Right. Building good topical clusters often starts with a pillar page. That's like your main hub of information on a broad topic. Then you create those supporting content pages that go deeper into specific subtopics. And you link all those pages together back to the pillar page and to each other. Matt also gave a tip for figuring out if keywords have similar search intent. Just compare the search results pages. If the top results are pretty much the same for different keywords, that's a good sign that you should group them together and target them with one page. He also mentioned Ahrefs' parent topic feature, which can help you find the main keyword that can help you rank for a bunch of similar terms. Okay, so to sum it all up, especially for you guys in the SMU Search Engine Optimization and Marketing Strategies class, we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about brainstorming those initial seed keywords, how to use keyword research tools and understand the data they give you, why search intent is so important, the different types of keywords and how to use them strategically, a whole bunch of ways to find valuable keywords, including using AI and analyzing your competitors, how to decide which keywords are worth going after, and finally, how to organize your keywords in a smart way, using clustering to build up your topical authority.
And it's important to remember, like all those experts said, keyword research isn't something you do just once. It's an ongoing process. You have to keep revisiting it and refining it as your website grows, as your goals change, and as the whole online world keeps evolving.
Absolutely. The key takeaways here are to always be thinking about what people are really searching for, and to understand that different types of keywords are going to be useful for different things. Now, as you start putting all this into practice, I want to leave you with this thought. Think about how understanding user search patterns can inform not just your SEO, but your marketing as a whole, even your overall business strategy. What can you learn about your audience by understanding how they search for information? It's a really fascinating area to explore, and you might uncover some surprising opportunities.
Couldn't agree more. Good luck with your research, everyone.
And that's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.